She blamed me for the fate of the world, did Grace, as though I had managed at merely two to pull from the very depths of hell some evil, slobbering thing that caused the 29 crash and plunged the decade that followed into poverty and hunger and fear. It was, Phil said, as though she saw in my foreshortened arm some twisted reminder of the devil, the unfettered wave of which she could see plunging the world into still deeper sorrow. And he, Phil said, was plunging into his own sense of sadness and sorrow as he watched me fall under the spell that was Grace. As he watched her glare at my cheek so pure and pink, only to wince at the face of the devil, knowing, even as she turned her back on me, that she was being pulled into the very fires of hell. Phil saw in her eyes then that stark emptiness, like black winter streets, and her fear that she would never be free of that which sent her into the crash. She had run, Phil said. Grasping a lumbering flatbed, she inwardly implored to pull her far from the crash, to pull her away from the scent, the sight, the memory of her sorrow, to pull her toward whatever might give her relief from her relentless desperation and fear. He could not say, could only imagine how she had suffered, poor Grace, could only guess at what fueled the fires of her hell, could only speculate at what she saw when she stared into the slanted yellow eyes of the devil. And yet he knew, somehow he knew, that there was even more to the devil than she would admit as she flung herself ahead of the crash. That her ragged, resolute flight from hell toward what she did not know would leave her no less saturated in sorrow. Still, no matter his efforts, she would not tell him all. No, not Grace. There was that which she could not face. There was that lingering, loathsome fear that she could not escape. That bubbling pustule of naked fear that she would see now and forevermore in the face of her son, a devil. A pudgy prince of eternal darkness who would say her name, and Grace would clasp her hands to her head and wait for the crash that would come, and the wave of wrenching sorrow that would make her beg for the deepest, hottest corner of hell. And Phil knew what he could not do. He could not save her from her hell. He could not convince her that she need not fear the cherubic visage of her son, that she need not lose herself in sorrow. But he knew that would not be, simply could not be. Not as long as the devil she knew, the evil thing that sent her into the crash, kept his long red talon-like fingers pressed to the soft white flesh of her neck, and Grace, empty, tortured Grace, refused to accept or acknowledge that her hell, though born in the crash, could survive only if her fear continued to mask the devil that hid in the bitter depths of her soul.